This conference will now be recorded.
Good to go? Just in time. I now call this meeting, a regular meeting of the City Commission to order. And roll call, please.
Mayor Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Here.
Commissioner Gandy,
Here.
Commissioner Bowles,
Here.
Commissioner White. Here.
That's about it. Father God, we just thank you for this day that you have presented us. We just ask at this time, God, to come inside and be a part of this meeting. And Father, the main thing is impart to us the wisdom and the direction that you see is the right way for us to go. Father, we just ask that you help us have compassion, you help us have direction, help us have the ability to see a vision that you prepare for us, for our community, our citizens, that we can then use this to help expand our community as we all come together. Father, we just are thankful for the approaching time where we see that we celebrate the birth of your son. And at this time, God, we are thankful for everything that you've given us and provide us daily. And we just look forward to the celebration as we depart towards our new year. Father, in all of this, we ask your blessings and we ask to be with us. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, to be a symbol of our great friendships among the United cultures. You may be seated. The floor is open for you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the agenda as submitted.
Motion and second for the approval of the agenda as submitted. Any discussion, any correction? Addition? Not, Shannon, roll call.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Bowles,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for considerations of minutes, October 24th, 2022.
Okay, motion and second for consideration of the minutes. Any discussion, corrections? If not, Shannon?
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowles,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes. All right. Brings us to our commissioner and staff report. Shannon, do you have anything this evening?
No, I don't have any discussions.
Tracy, do you have anything other than financial report? And we'll just do that in our discussion then.
Yes.
Okay. Chief, this brings us to you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. City Manager, we are happy to announce we have filled the school resource officer position. Officer Robert Still, a certified 3-year veteran police officer, was hired 2 weeks ago. With the city manager's approval, we have started our K9 program on a limited basis. We have been funded to purchase and train 1 dog who will be trained in narcotics, but not marijuana, detection and apprehension. The training will be done by February. The mayor, if you want to press these out, sheet 6. 1 for each commissioner and one for the city manager. The mayor and Commissioner White had wanted me to address the city ordinance regarding the parking of trucks in residential areas. I'm handing out 2 city ordinances that cover this topic and a map of our residential and commercial zones. This ordinance was approved into law in 2014 by the commission. It is a very divisive subject. While we realize that truck drivers and all field workers work very hard, we still must attempt to enforce the laws which are on our books. Since we only have one code enforcement officer to enforce all the ordinances for the entire city, we tried to target the most egregious offenders of these ordinances, the people who leave their trucks idling for hours on end, creating exhaust and noise pollution for their neighbors, or who do diesel mechanicing on the street. Please note that while most people know the commercial zone extends east of Main Street almost to city limits, most people don't realize that the commercial zone extends west of Main Street for almost its entire length of the 100 and 200 blocks of the avenues. Therefore, to park a truck there is not illegal. There has been an idea put forward to have the city create a park and ride lot somewhere in a commercial zone in the city where drivers could leave their commercial vehicles parked. I have had one offer from a citizen who has a lot on Northeast Street to lease their lot to the city for this purpose. I have Code Enforcement Officer Christina Massey here also to answer any additional questions the commission may have. And I have additional copies for the public if anybody wants one.
And I also have from a citizen who is planning to actually build out a commercial truck rental space.
You have like an area that he's proposing?
It will be on, in the North Love area on, before you reach Hope. You happen to know there's a big vacant lot there by U Store.
How would you get there though?
Well, we've got that. We're working that.
Working on that? Okay, all right. That would be my problem is we don't want to increase traffic in those areas.
I think the mayor had a point there too, is in the near future, we plan to not have a heavy trucking down Main, moving from the hospital all the way to Avenue D. I think any type of planning, any type of interest of any heavy vehicle from that point forward will defeat the purpose because they're going to keep creeping in and keeping in, sneaking in. And I think we need to do a no tolerance in that zone. Because I feel that plan ahead, just like, with fines and so forth, which is on the table as well as that.
Which is why I told him they'd have to turn on the Love there at the hospital and come into that and then go back out that same route. Yeah, well, that's why we're working on that.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, so they'll start coming down Love, enough. They are sneaking back across that other way and damaging. I just feel that eventually we just need to get this traffic going down Commercial and 17th Street and protect this, what we've got new that's coming to our community and not destroy it. But I know also, Joe Lego also had some property right there off Avenue D, East Avenue D, right there where our drainage is at. He probably has about 40 acres, and he was looking at possibly renting that out. Truck drivers as well.
Well, I asked the chief to investigate this. First of all, to see if the ordinance was still in effect. I was present whenever we talked about this back then. And, I'm not saying that we have not enforced certain things, but we have not actively sought this. Had several citizens that have come forth that have a problem with the excessive running of the trucks, the smell. Plus that if we are getting a lot of degradation in our streets from having the larger trucks on our streets that weren't really designed for that. So it is our goal that if we start enforcing something, that we have a solution for the problem. And I believe that's been our problem. So now is there's not an area in the city truly for trucks that park, leave their cars during the come back and leave their trucks there at night, or if they're nighttime drivers, the opposite would be in effect. But Anyway, so it's good to know that we have a couple of possibilities. And then we need to stay in pursuit of this. It may take more than a couple of locations just for logistics in the city. But the goal is hopefully not only Main Street, but to eliminate the pass through of trucks through our city. If there's deliveries, yes, in and out, things along that line, but the parking, our streets aren't wide enough to accommodate parking on the street of these larger vehicles. So it's just something that we need to do as the commission, as the city, to try to promote some of these solutions for this. And not do it just to be an encumbrance on our city.
That being said, if it's a commercial area, let's say the 100 block of Avenue N, or almost the 200, we can't enforce it there.
Can't enforce it.
Even though there's houses there, it seems like a residential area. Technically, it's a commercial area.
Yeah, we can address that if we need to change the ordinance. But until we get a solution, there's really no reason to even look at possibly changing the ordinance. Let's try to figure out how to stop it, or excuse me, to give them a better option than parking even in a commercial. And then we'll see how that works.
So here's my struggle with that.
Listen,
It's a commercial vehicle that a company, wherever they're based out of, Lovington, Hobbs, or Timbuktu. Okay. I don't know why we need to provide them anything for parking. There's two things. A, it's a commercial vehicle, needs to be in a commercial area. We don't know what hazards are on those vehicles.
agree.
You know, whether it's a hot oil truck, vacuum truck, they can say they carry fresh water every time, but they all produce water occasionally when they're coming back. I mean, we're all guilty of trying to catch that next little job. But the fact of the matter is that organization needs to plan for their employee. Their employee shouldn't be using their residential home, even if it is in a commercial area, as a parking area. They shouldn't be driving over a curb. They shouldn't be, you know, so it's frustrating when you see local trucks that have their own yard parked in areas because their employees don't want to drive to the yard. I'm like, my employees drive from Hobbs and all over the place to get to my yard because I don't park there. So I struggle with that, and I don't see why it's the city's responsibility to provide a parking area, you know, whether, what, that's kind of the way I heard it addressed, or that's the way I understood it, so that just crawled under my skin. Because now if we provide it, you know, if somebody wants to lease some property from somebody else, or that person wants to lease for truck, whatever, that's a business, that's great, that's gross receipts for the community, that sounds great, I like that. But the city shouldn't have anything involved with that. You know? We're having a hard enough time just policing the everyday stuff, and now we're having this issue. I mean, and everybody says, well, it's training. No, these people have been here long enough to understand there should not be an excuse anymore. You know, and you know, they complain about the streets because I'm pretty sure every person out there is complaining about street in Lovington.
Absolutely.
And since our governor didn't help us any by changing the tax law, so they could charge a, you know, a point of service, or not, yeah, point of sale instead of point of service.
Right.
So those trucks don't provide anything for Lovington other than some fuel or maybe a tire or some repairs. Maybe. It's a question. So, you know, I really struggle with this. So I don't know why, you know, in the residential areas, especially heavy, the ones that are off Main Street back to the east and David's areas and stuff like that, I get that, you know, that was mishandled or whatever, because they allowed housing into that area. But, you know, you're talking Dogwood, different areas back there. I don't care. I have a real issue with the guy said it's on my property. Well, it didn't drop in there. You had to come in here from somewhere, you know.
Well,
When
then
you drove over the curb to get here.
Property.
Yeah, so, yeah, and you got there, you're sneaking down the alleyways, busting our water lines and everything else. So I'm really having a tough time with this, you know, so, I mean, we've been fighting this for how many years now?
Yeah.
And every time it gets busier, it just gets worse. Right. And so we need to have a firm, active deal that says, look, it doesn't belong here. It has to be parked somewhere else. I don't, you and your organization need to figure out where to park this truck other than your house, on my street.
And I think what it is too is just a fine. What is it, $25 fine or something?
It's on there.
It's-
It's
It's 300.
Yeah, I tell you, don't go back to where it hurts your pocket and send them $500 ticket instead of $300.
And it's come to the point where some of these people, they know Christina's schedule and they'll dodge her and they'll wait when she goes home at 5:30, then they'll park on the, property overnight or over the weekend. So it's got to the point where we're gonna have to call her out after hours to start hitting some of these people because they know. And we try to be nice, we try to warn them at first, but
But chief also, even if we had 10 code enforcement, it can't be everywhere at once, So, and then it becomes a cost burden on the taxpayers trying to police this. And, they just need to, pay their dues to Lovington and take care of Lovington instead of, fighting the system because it's affecting us all. So it end result affects us all.
Commissioner Guinea, first of all, I am not proposing that the city provide a solution. What I was alluding to was, we can ask code enforcement to go ticket everyone, but what are their options? If they have a yard here, some of those are easily solvable, but there are a lot, we're gonna have a lot of citizens get upset because they don't have an option. And that's the reason that it's backed off for the past 8 years. So
Better bring that up some more. It's been backed off for.
I was based on what he said as far as the adoption.
But I
Been
always
here 14 years and we've been fighting over it.
So if you're gonna get in business, you ought to know your business, and your business is not.
I totally agree. That's the reason I wanted this on there, so we can give the code enforcement and our police chief some direction. Do we want to ramp up enforcing of this particular issue?
it's a very divisive subject.
Yes.
Devices as in that we don't have a ordinance that's
No,
stiff enough, or
we get pushback saying, I'm a taxpayer, this is an.
I don't care if they're taxpayer, we're all taxpayers. There's not a single person here who paying taxes on something. So,
We have no problem enforcing the law.
and honestly, in that defense, are they truly a taxpayer? Because their business isn't providing tax receipts for the city. So just because they bought groceries here, which are non-taxable, just because they went to the hospital, non-taxable. Okay, they went to office and they were taxed. That tax will not justify the damage for the street. So no, that's a Gates excuse. That's how to use that with the sheriff's department when it gets eaten ticket. So,
That's all I have except for the non-action item on violation and citation funds.
Okay. Based on what I'm hearing, let's up our enforcement. Because she has nothing better to do, obviously.
In your free time.
Yeah, in your free time.
That's okay, we'll do it. No problem.
Interim fire chief.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'll start with our run numbers for October. In the month of October, we had a total of 251 EMS calls. Of those, 58 of them were interfacility transfers. 11 were at the airport, here at home. 71 of them were refusal to cancel a DOA call, and 10 of those were held in the community of Taylor. We also had 18 fire calls during the month. Next time I had is the total price for the new fire engine is $381,930. If everything stays on schedule with that, we should be able to take possession of that by the end of May, as long as there's not any delays in production. And then lastly, we did hire uncertified currently. We'll have to go through for 1 year employee. We started November 9th. He is the fire academy in the training. And along with that, we currently have 10 certified firefighter EMTs and one EMS specialist that's only EMS. And of those 10, we have 3 that apply for the departments and 2 of which are job offers. So in the very near future, actually, if their notices go really anything, so we'll be down 2 more EMTs, certified firefighters, and potentially a third.
And the solution.
We have got to come up with a better retention plan. Our market is such that people don't have to travel very far to do the same job for better pay. And our retirement's a big factor in that. If they such a huge percentage of it, it's hard to entice new people, and it's hard to keep the ones that are tenured to stay. When they can go 20 minutes and do better, they can go out an hour and do better. So we're not in a good market position here. And those are the only items that I have.
Yeah, I was, and I mentioned this before, and last year, like I said, if we have issues with retention, we have issues with employees or something like that, always let us know, okay, we're short 3, but then turn around and say, but this is our solution to it, you know? And I think that I try to press that on everyone is like, you know, spin it, but I just don't want you to tell the public, say, we're 3 short, and the public's gonna say, 3 short. Well, you know, what is the solution to them 3 short? So when we address, we say, we're 3 short, but we're doing this and this and this to counteract this problem that we're having. And nothing against, you know, I'm not scolding nobody, I'm just saying that's the proper way to address when you're down officers or down fire department. And if we do have an issue with retention due to funding, maybe we can get together and find out what we can do. But I know one thing is that every time we pump money into it, everybody else stands up, you know. It's like Hobbs landing up, and there's just no way we can compete with Hobbs or the county, any type of funding, because they have more resources than we do. So it's like we have to find a way in order to operate. And I know PER has taken a big effect on us because of a young man that's coming there at age 22, 23. We're matching it, he has to match it. He takes home out of 1,000, probably $600. And he's trying to figure out how can I make it 600, but yet the end result in 20 years, he does retire, you know, but he's having to pay into it. But how much do we have to pay into us? We have to pay into PERA plus additional income for him, because if we end up as paid, let's say it's $6 to $8, then also we have to contribute more into PERA. So it's a domino effect, and it affects our budget. It affects a lot. You know, a lot of people say, well, it's just a $1 more raise. You know, you add the Social Security, everything else that comes in play, and that dollar ends up being $3. And I feel you, I understand. And I think that's always been the major factor of us not being able to, because we just don't have the resources. So how can we manage differently? And I even, you know, we thought about bringing back the volunteer part, you know, to help counteract on one side, on the firefighting side, and start concentrate on the EMS, EMT side, because that's the bigger factor.
That is the majority of what our responsibility, the community, of course, fire response is always going to be there. But when you look at the sheer numbers alone, our 18 fire calls to our 251.
Exactly. So that should be our focus, is especially when you're already down 3 more, you know, like you said, additional 2. So that now we're going to get to that point. You know, where does our focus need to be? The firefighter could be handled with volunteer, EMS should be handled with the full timers, you know, that way we can pay more and probably take away from our, I don't know, I'm just, but you know your business, I don't know your business, but I'm just saying a solution. But I feel that every time we say something like that, I think we need to say, but this is how we're going to counter it. And I think the seasons say, hey, can't make it. Well, yeah, that's why we have managers to figure it out. So we have us, city managers. But I'm not saying nothing negative, I'm just saying overall. But I appreciate that. I appreciate everything, police department, fire department.
Can you compile a market analysis, maybe no more than 100 miles and kind of show where our structure, our pay structure is versus everyone? So at least we'll have something to look at. And then hopefully over the next few months, we'll be working on allocating funds differently. I'm not differently, but different amounts. And we can see what we can, how close we can start closing those gaps.
Yeah, our budget starts in March and this coming year, we can implement something into that fact.
Even a cost of living adjustment, with inflation at 9%, gas prices, you guys are getting crushed.
We understand. That's the reason this night is the one I have long sought, so that we could start talking about, as we're establishing the city's financial position. We were handcuffed because we just didn't know where we were standing to move on. But hopefully, after beginning tonight, we can move forward and establish how we're going to help our employees, and not only in retention, but bring them to a level that the market in our area really directs or demands, if nothing else. All right. Anything further?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sitting in for Skip too. Appreciate it. Commissioner Bolt.
Yes, I see that our GRT is up over 900 again this month. I know there's some outside circumstances creating that too, but it's good enough. I'm happy to see it up there. Holidays are coming. Appreciate people local, staying local, eating local. It means a lot for our community. So hopefully we can continue this trend for the next couple months. Preferably we can continue it for the next couple of years. I'm happy at least in that area. Not so good note. In a couple of weeks here, I take safety serious. My job that I'm in, I take it serious. You can't make any mistakes, and that goes with any place. The past couple of weeks, I'm not going to throw any names out, anything. I've seen a couple city vehicles with people inside that were driving that are texting. And I'm putting this out there to our department heads because to me, it's not acceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And I will get with Adele and I'll discuss it with you. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I said I wouldn't bring it up. But to me, it's a safety issue. It needs to be addressed. I'm putting that out there so everybody knows it, everybody can hear about it, aware of it. We'll get together with it. So, other than that, I'm good.
Mr. Tree.
Yes, once again, I'd like to say how I really appreciate the fire department and the police department. I attend a lot of events and always see them there and serving Lovington proudly at all these events. And I just want to say I appreciate it because it really shows your support for the community and so forth. So thank you, gentlemen. So.
Mr. White. Commissioner Gang.
No.
I didn't say later.
Yes, I just wanted to remind everybody, we're closing at noon on the 23rd for Thanksgiving, and we'll be closed on the Thursday, and then that Friday, we only work half day, but we'll be closed, and then we'll be back for normal hours on the 28th. That's it.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, at our last meeting, we discussed the abortion issue. So what I would like to do is I'm going to give copies to each commissioner. The first one is the ordinance that the city of Hobbs passed. And so let me give each one a copy of that. That's the city of Hobbs. That did pass. The next one. Oh, wait. The next one is county. And then Clovis. So what we would like for the commission to do is review. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please let me or Jamie know. And then we'll go for Mr. Mayor, if you want to have a few comments. I know at our next meeting, we would like to have that as a discussion. I'm correct.
Yes, our goal is to pick one of the three that we, and this is also, our council will be involved, but basically adopt one of the three with maybe a few changes or mesh, yes, that will work with our city, that we can then put out for publication, possibly at our next commission meeting. And then once that goes out, then possibly get it on the December for consideration by the commission here. Commissioner Jackson, I saw you walking. Oh, you're hidden back there. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I was not at your commission meeting on the 3rd. Did you put yours out for publication? I don't know, and I apologize for that.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Ours is out for publication for 30 days.
For 30 days.
And then we will bring it before the commission. Next on.
In the first meeting in December,
From
approximately.
January. We'll miss December because of the annual meeting.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Sorry to mean to put you on the spot. And Commissioner Long is out in the hall.
I've been bad, I guess.
We can, are you the only one out there?
Rosie's up there.
Oh, Rosie's out there. Do we have the ability? to say anything? Let's have a couple. Okay, all right. All right. I don't see him, but is Mark Lee Dixon here? He is. Oh, he's back in the corner. We're going to have public comment here in just a few moments, Mr. Dixon. I was on my way here. Pastor Brown called me and said that you may be in attendance on that issue. You kind of heard where we are, but if you have some statements, just use public comment. Yeah, that'd be all right. And I said, of course. So, sorry, I just wanted to make sure you were here before that time. All right. Again, we'll have a discussion item at our next regular meeting on this, and hopefully have something that we can then put out. Anything further on that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, at this time I stand for any questions that the commission may have.
Commissioner? No one?
Thank you.
Ms. Ball?
I'm looking to do a preliminary walkthrough with the contractors over at the Magistrate Building towards the end of the month. Just, it won't be the final or not, it's just a preliminary, just kind of making sure everything's still headed in the right direction for them to finish. They do want to finish before Christmas.
When you have that date, can you make sure that it's focused? I'd like to.
Okay. Yes.
That's the end. I'm sorry. I know you walk through anytime, but it's easier when they only have to do one dog and pony show, not a month, so.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
How are they, do they happen to know how they're coming along in the railroad tracks or Crystal?
No, I did not get a hold of Bernardo on that, but has Bernardo reported to you?
Yeah, go ahead. I was in Commissioner Bolt. I did talk to him, he was at the magistrate court. And what he's going to do is finish the magistrate court. He's already there right now, finishing that up, and then he's going to move to the police station, then the police station to the railroad tracks. So hopefully by then, probably the first. But he's here with his. So that in December, maybe we'll have. And I did relay that to the city manager and the police chief.
All right. Well, I know you are sitting in for Patrick. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'm in the dark today.
Okay. We say that sometimes.
That's right.
I would like to apologize. I had a migraine a couple of hours ago, and sometimes things don't flow very well, and I may struggle a little bit tonight. So just bear with me. We will get through tonight, and we've got a lot ahead of us. So I think we should just move on. This brings us to our.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to discuss workshop, financial workshop?
I didn't know if we were going to do that in
That's fine, we can, that's fine.
do it. Okay. Yes, we will.
Okay.
And I know that's why I told you, make sure you remind me if I forget something. So either time.
Report.
Okay, we'll just do it. Sounds good. This bring us to our public comment time. This is primarily on non-agenda items this evening. We will hopefully be able to have any public comment on some of the discussion items if so required. But at this time, if you would like to come to the podium, please state your name and try to keep it to 3 minutes or so. And we will, it looks like Estella's ready, so she's prepared.
My name is Estella Garcia, and I live in District 1, Mayor Trujillo. So, I mean, not Mayor, sorry, Ronnie, former Mayor Trujillo's district. We're having, I'd like to follow up on what Scott said with the trucks and everything. Maybe something that y'all might not have looked at. We're talking about these big water tankers, and you're saying, okay, well, we don't want them in the neighborhoods and blah, blah, blah. Just think about it. I live in a neighborhood that when I moved there, I was in, Commissioner Drew can attest to this, that I had a big surround, I have about 4 or 5 area block. I was only one there. Across the street, the same thing. All of a sudden, there was a need for housing. Well, all the double ways kept coming, kept coming, kept coming. The initial plan was, where I live, was to get big lots for these double wides. Double wides were coming in are expensive, about $100,000. So that's not to mention, you know, they're new. That's not including the sewer line, water line, gas line, and all that stuff. So people invested a lot of money in these lots. All of a sudden, we already have made an agreement with the city manager and I don't know if Commissioner Trio remembers this, but the idea was to, you know, that's what we were going to do with that area. And but so when I approached the board zoning, and they said, well, you're trying to take over the whole Washington. You know, you're trying to make people do what they want to do. But so now we've got an issue. Now we've got the issue that, fine, yeah, the trucks. I want to think about this because you're telling everybody, okay, well, that's not zoned for commercial. So guess what? They're going to hate it. I live in the commercial district. And people invested, there were some people invested a lot of money and they got beautiful yards, you know, and they keep coming in. But I mean, now we're surrounded with, I've got, if I may approach the commission, the plan commission, I apologize, I didn't get a printout of this, so apologize for that. But this is what my neighborhood looks now. I think there's counting, this is right down my street. There's about 6 semi trucks parked all the way down with the back home green, and they've taken over the whole. Now,
Estella, I'm sorry. Can you give me an area? I don't know exactly where.
Street.
On south.
East.
Oh,
North Chapel.
Okay.
North Chapel.
Sorry, I just don't know.
No, I know. And also, from the courthouse on down this way, that's where the problem begins. If anybody's looked behind the courthouse, it looks pretty bad. I mean, when you start telling people, okay, we all start want commercial, well, the courthouse is right there. Is that commercial? Is the courthouse commercial? Guess where they're gonna park just because you're sitting that way? I mean, and then right across the street from me, I wanted on record that I am not anti-oil. I'm pro-oil 100% because my husband worked for Shell for something years. So I want that on record. But I have an issue when they're taking over the whole street, mechanicing on the street, washing. I've approached this commission, I don't know how many times. I told y'all that, not y'all specifically, but who was here at the time. It's gonna be a problem. They're washing their biofuels, chemicals off their trucks into the streets. There's children playing in the street. And they can play and run their bicycles and everything because these trucks are all right there. I mean, there's even a school parking, what do I call it, shelter. Well, it's not a shelter, but that's where the bus drops them off. Just right there where they turn off commercial. So, I mean, I would be very careful as to state when y'all come up to a decision, how dangerous it is and it's getting for this residential area. Because there's about, right across from me, the grass, and I've got a picture in there. The weeds are this tall above me. And they're still there and they haven't been cut since last year. And right behind there, there's some hot oilers with 500-gallon propane tanks on them. Light a match right there, and I can guarantee you're gonna feel it all the way to the courthouse before anybody is gonna level that whole area. When I built my house there, I had to get a permit. I get a permission from all my neighbors within 100, feet? Was it feet? And to build my garages. And yet here we have all these people. I mean, we have an RV park that's loaded by drug lords, prostitution just down the street. And did we get asked? Did we get asked about these drugs? But we are going to get overwhelmed. I just want y'all to think about that when you're deciding what you're going to do. It needs to be done soon because they are tearing up our streets. And there's going to be a bad accident. There's already been a fire over there. If these weeds that are right there, and he's the owner of those weeds, let imagine it's going to hit right towards his propane tanks. And he's got like about maybe 4 followers or something like that. That's a lot of propane tanks. Anyway, that's all I have. I'd like to thank the chief, because I do understand his frustration. That in this case, like you said, Commissioner Gandy, there's a rule of law, and it's got to stand. And keep that in mind. Don't just throw everybody out that way. I mean, there was no housing. This is what the people are paying. Take the little trip down there, go down and check it out. What a mess, what a hell of a mess. Thank you. For the time. My phone?
Anyone else? Oh, Mr. Dixon.
Markley Dixon, Director with Right to Life East Texas. The founder is called the Sanctuary Cities Reborn Initiative, which paved the way in Texas for the Texas Heartbeat Act. The 3 ordinances that I have before y'all are 3 different types of ordinances for 3 different municipalities, 2 different municipalities in a county. And if I were to go to drive up Ford they had an issue with my truck, F-150. If I were to go to O'Reilly's to get a part, I would not ask to see some different transmissions for a Volkswagen and a Chevy and another. But I would want to get something specifically for that would fit my truck. And there is an ordinance which has been given to the city of Lovington that's specifically drafted for y'all's government. Hobbs and Clovis are home rule municipalities. And as home rule municipalities, they have more options than you guys have. And so it is very important that when you do consider the ordinance, the possibility that y'all look at something that is specifically crafted for your city, because if y'all were to do what the county is, then that's a completely different. They're a county, there's completely different arguments there than there are for you guys. And so my encouragement to you guys would be to not just, do look, feel free to look at those ordinances, of course, but also look at the one specifically that's been drafted for the city of Lovington. There is a letter from my attorney, Jonathan F. Mitchell, former Solicitor General for the state of Texas, who's a law clerk for Justice Scalia. And that letter is tied specifically to the ordinance which was drafted for Lovington, which has been given to the city of Lovington. If an ordinance, pass the Hobbs ordinance or the Clovis ordinance or the Lee County ordinance, then there's not a tie of representation to those ordinances because those ordinances are not representative of the city. But we've seen this pass different ordinances, similar nature, same kind of goal in the end, passed in 61 different communities across the United States. And we're very careful in what we do. We haven't, out of all the challenges so far, we haven't lost. We've always been successful, and that's because each ordinance is specifically for that community. Yes, there can be tweaks made here and there, as long as it works within the confines of the laws of the state and how that structure is for that body of government. And I do thank you guys for the consideration of this. I was thinking it was on the agenda for introduction today. I came in from Dallas, made a few stops on the way. I've got to fly out in the morning to Washington, D.C. for some events outside of the Department of Justice. But I will say a little while after the commission meeting, if there's any questions you guys have before I head on my way to Midland for my early flight. But if y'all do have any questions now, I'm more than willing to address those as well. Thank you guys.
So do we have that draft?
No, we've never been using it.
I have not.
Yeah, legal has it.
We've never been.
I'd like to see that. Dr. McKee. Compare with what's in front of us right now.
We've never got to it.
I'd like to. I appreciate that too, because I know that takes a lot of work. It's simply don't want to step on something we're gonna be in court with. So.
Well, there's a good chance
Yeah.
that's going to happen anyway. And I would like to say, despite what our governor said the other day, I have not recognized you as an extremist in your exact wording. I have to look up on my phone. But so far, I think I've handled it very well. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, I do have to say, when I left the Hobbs council meeting, before I got to Denny's to eat my grilled cheese, which I think that's some of the best grilled cheese you can find around here, the governor was tweeting about me from Texas. But Texas, we've seen the abortion industry's been shut down in Texas. They're fleeing our state. And, our hearts are heavy for these communities on the border of New Mexico because we know that abortion hurts women and ends the life of their children. And we want to do everything in our power to protect these communities and also Texas residents who are coming this way. That is why we took some measures in 4 different cities on election day, in Abilene, Athens, Plainview, and San Angelo, which actually, the measures passed there on election day. If an abortion is performed on residents of any of those 4 cities, by law now, we're able to bring the abortionists from New Mexico into our courts in Texas to address the matter. And so we're hoping to do some more things, both at the state level and local level across the state of Texas, but Texas stands with you guys. And in some ways, we feel like we blew the abortion industry over into our neighbor's yard. And, that's never good when neighbors blow leaves or trash into their neighbor's yard, and we're here to help clean it up. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate it.
Everyone looking with the Levington EDC, I wanted to give you guys an update on your solar project. I know it's been about a little bit over a year that we signed agreements and contracts, but I do want to give you an update. As of about a month ago, I've been getting about every 2 weeks an update of what's going on. Phase 1 has already been completed, just so you know, an injection study, an environmental study, surface title, and subsurface titles and mineral reports have all been performed at the site. At the end of the year, they are going to apply, send in the application for permitting. Curl surveying at Carlsbad will be do the surveying, and that begins at the beginning of the year. That's going to be 6 to 10 weeks to survey 1,450 acres. 1,450 acres. And then just so you know, on the environmental assessment, an eagle was identified in the area, so they do nest. And so they're not worried about it. They said, once that time, they're not concerned about it at all. They will just go to a different section, but they are going to keep a lookout. But just to let you know that they are moving forward. I know that the city has already signed their conflict waivers. They are working with a partner right now to take offtake of the energy as we speak. But it's moving forward. As you are aware, when we signed the agreement, it was going to be a 3-year planning process. Beginning of the year, they will begin the site plan. They do have to work around a lot of pump jacks, oil leases that are out there, so it is going to take some time. But I wanted to give you an update, letting you know that it is moving forward. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Sir. Hello. My name's Clint Lauren. I just want to say I didn't show up to speak tonight, believe it or not, but I was listening to the deal about the trucks, and I agree with Scotty. Like, when I had a business, it wasn't up to anyone else to make room for my trucks or my employees or my junk that went on with my business. I had to save, buy land, do my own thing. So I don't think the city should be getting into that. And then listening to, not that I understand you said that wasn't the idea, but and then when Evelyn mentioned the environmental study for the solar, I don't know if you noticed, where trucks park, there are environmental spills. They drain, so they oil. So wherever that happens in the end, someone's gonna have to clean that up, and it's very expensive. And whether or not they dump oil, those guys work on their trucks, they leave a tire here and tire there. And if you see over the gas card, there's a mess all the time. There's tires. Somebody's gonna pick that up. And then another chief, Miranda, has been cleaning up or helping clean up the city, and he doesn't need to do with that stuff. And he does code enforcement here. But it's just something else to think about with all the other stuff you guys have to think about. But that's all I have to say.
Anyone else before we move on? All right. Bring it to our non-action items. First up. Shannon, do you want to present this at this time?
Commissioner Trujillo, you wanted this on the agenda for discussion this time about the return training.
Yes, ma'am. credit is coming across, and if you can elaborate on when, and how much again, once again.
It was 123,000. It was credited to our invoice for November, that's 85,000, and the balance will be credited in December. And I know last year, Tawny Kennedy, she spoke with Cindy Conley, who is our representative with United Healthcare, to explain the difference between this credit, large credit, and a check that we received for around $12,000. And it was, Cindy informed her that that credit is the city's, but the $12,000 check was something that needed to be refunded to the employees, which we took measures to do that. And so I did speak with Ed Piero about this return of premium that we received. And he said, it's called a performance funding return of premium. He said that the commission does not have the authority to issue a refund to the employee based on this credit. The refunded premium is property of the city. Now, the check, that was a different matter. And unfortunately, we won't be receiving that check this year. So that's what I learned about the insurance terms that we received.
So what he's saying, that since there was a credit for performance, that it goes back to the city, but still, the city doesn't have to. What I'm saying, we have a credit. We have a little over 100,000 credit, but yeah, I'm just saying, we can channel that in a different direction. It doesn't, we can say we don't have to, I'm just saying, maybe like we did the previous time, it's 1 month that we're credit for, that's what our average is, about 100,000 a month. Is that what that average is?
That was down to that, around 85,000.
85,000 payment per month, and so we got credit. We will be credited for December, so we won't have to send a payment in December, is that correct?
Well, November, and then it will be half of December.
Oh, so it's November and December. So I'm just saying, well, I mean, I know that we can't directly fund that money back to them, but, we can always.
But it's not money they ever paid, it's our portion that we disperse on the insurance, it's not, it's all government. So you can't disperse it.
And I know, like, because last year when we talked about it, is that
We said the same thing.
Yeah.
It was the first, when I first came, that was the first thing we did. And it's not, I remember that.
But we can also, what I'm saying is we can make adjustments to the budget where we could do something, is what I'm saying. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from there. Can make adjustment to the budget for our employees to receive something for Christmas, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Because if this payment comes out of the general fund. And what I'm saying is we received a credit over 100. How can we adjust the budget in order to give our employees something for that's where I'm
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, it's my understanding since this money, this is not an employee contribution, that's correct, Shannon? It's a city contribution, so we cannot use that. Yeah, that we cannot.
specifically, so we're not using that money specifically.
Right.
It doesn't have to be stated that way. I'm just saying we have a credit
Right,
in
so
that area, so
could we use other resources?
unties other revenues in other areas to not be allocated towards that. And I'm just saying,
I don't know if the city can give a bonus. I would have to look into that. You're talking about a bonus to employees.
General fund bonus.
I don't know if that's possible.
but just something we can, because I know that it's still, I just would like to do something. we can say that we did try. But if we can't, we can't. But it's just something we look into it, and if there's no way, and I understand where Ken's coming from, and the state's coming from on it, I totally agree. But I'm just saying, it unties revenue. So where can we untie revenue somewhere else to accommodate? But if we can't, we can't. Just something to look into. See.
And that was 143,000 that we're going to have to pay insurance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. If we can't, we can't. We can look into it more.
Dr. Martinez, in your spare time. The problem is we've only got a couple of meetings left this year. And so if you can just inform us, like, yeah, either next meeting or whatever. I know that's pushing, but that would be at least some sort of an answer while this is. I have no direction at this point.
You're gonna say, I mean, you can give safety, you give some sort of safety instead of like clothing material, clothing, in reference to, you can give them a voucher, $500 voucher, $250 voucher for clothing, and there it is. I know.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I don't believe we can give a bonus to employees, but I will double check. But as Commissioner Trill mentioned, I know in the past, a safety bonus, I think it was $100 safety bonus, as long as the employee met specific criteria within that fiscal year.
Because I know we can buy safety, something.
Okay, Chief, I'm sorry. Are you going to talk on, I don't know who this one is. So
Mr. Trujillo asked to put discussion item for potentially increase in city violation and citation funds. For frame of reference, I have made you copies of the latest fee schedule for common traffic fines, one for the city manager. As a frame of reference. So the court, our city court collects nothing for state adopted ordinances, but they do collect $29 in court costs. City ordinances, sometimes the traffic fine is dismissed and the person is told only to pay the court costs. For instance, if you look on the last page, the ordinance for mufflers is $45. Red light is $45. Texting while driving is $80. So this is just so you have the most up-to-date penalty assessment schedule in front of you.
Yes, sir.
And my intentions on this was because I think the last time we did something about 10 years, we made adjustments on it. I think this is about a decade old right here of fines that were put in effect. Well, the thing about it is you can't have an officer on every street, but if there is one and you do get caught, it's going to be a hefty fine. And like I mentioned earlier with the truckings and so forth, parking in residential area, if you don't hurt their pocketbook, I guarantee they're gonna do it again and again and again. And same way with some of this racing that we got going on, muffler, loud music, a lot of different things that $25 fine, $45 fine, shoot, that's just 2 hours worth of wages, anymore. So if we hurt them, if we get them where it hurts, I guarantee your crime level or your misdemeanors right here in traffic citation will go down drastically, because you're not going to want to speed if you're going to get a $100 ticket versus a $45 ticket. So, and then plus, I think we need to make some of this stuff mandatory, because if nothing against our judicial system, but if they're just letting everybody off, I mean, what's the whole purpose of pulling them over and wasting our time citing
it has to be enforced on two levels.
if there's no mandatory.
Correct. By our officers, by the court.
And I feel that that's where we've gone wrong, is that we have to make it mandatory to where they pay it, because they keep getting away with it and they keep doing it again and again. And that's why I brought this up, and I can ask the board of commission if they want to review this, to double the fines across the board. It's just simple math, just double it across the board. And I think that would help our law enforcement out as well, because maybe it slowed down the race and slowed down a lot of things, just because they know if they got caught, they're gonna be, it's gonna hurt their pocketbook.
I mean, no offense to Tatum, but compared to Tatum, we're not even in the ballpark. You get caught speeding in the school zone in Tatum, it's $500.
Well, immediately.
So,
Don't go to court or nothing.
Thing is, if we double the fines, it gives people something to think about. Granted, it goes in front of the judge, and if the judge dismisses it, that's not on us. But if we double the fines, maybe make them think about it. That there is a possibility that we will get a $300 to $500 fine ticket.
And I think our commercial.
But I wonder if it's legally, where we can make it mandatory. It's just like a DWI. They say first offense, you get like that, mandatory, second offense, you get $500, 10 days in jail or something like that. Or it's mandatory where the judge would just, is that correct? Like the judge would just say something, but they still, it's mandatory by law that they have to receive that punishment.
Those are probably state statutes. I have not looked at that issue for the city. We can certainly do that if you would like us to, but I am questioning whether the city council has the authority to force a judge to issue a mandatory fine, but I don't know that. Okay? But I would question whether that authority exists.
And if we cite a commercial driver, say for parking in the wrong area, can we also cite the company that owns the truck? Can we change it to these?
Probably so.
Just something that, I think that would help our law enforcement out and help the public out if we do something in regards.
Dr. Martinez, do you have a recommendation on how to approach this?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my recommendation is to meet with Patrick. Come up with several options. I think that's best.
Again, in your spare time.
Thank you.
Oh, anything further? Ms. Esmeralda?
Well, finance came up with a financial statement. We went back to September. Okay.
Part of it isn't, yeah, there's part of what you gave me, but the larger package, the larger.
Right, I'm gonna hand those out.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so what we did is we took the payroll for September, and the total payroll was 401, 389.81. And then in overtime, for time and a half, we paid 43,576.63. That was our total payroll for September. And then our expenses for September were 1,531,926.73. We also put the liabilities on here, which are our loans. The fire truck comes out of the fire loan. And we have the fire station, the drinking water loan, and the capital improvements. All that came to $69,365.57. And then our revenues, that's our total liabilities. And then our revenues for September were $3,845,998.41. We added our payroll, our expenses, and our liabilities together, which equals the $2,268.11. And then we took our revenue, we subtracted it, and we ended up with $1,843,000 on top. That's including the COVID money we got, and what's the other one? COVID. our total revenue that we have. Yeah, that exceeds that. So we came up on top, we're not in the red.
For
So
this month.
for this month, for September,
it's right.
yes. And I don't know if you guys are gonna want any more on here on the financial statement, or if you want it done different. If you do, you can email me or call me and we'll get together and see how we can work it out. I just kind of want to give you an idea of what the, payroll expenses and revenues were.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mayor, Tracy,
Yes,
and I'll be brief. I'd like to have a bracket in there that pertains mainly just to our general fund, what we pulled up from our general fund.
okay.
That's it. The expenses that came out of the general fund. That way, if we receive 900,000 GRT for the month of September, how much of that GRT went to expenses and how much remained? What is the ending balance for that month?
Okay.
That way it'd help us kind of like
Okay.
know what our average is and where we need to be on our expectations of our GRTs plus expenses to
Okay.
make sure we go past that.
Okay.
Commissioners, it is in a discussion with the city manager, and it was also suggested by Ed Bureau, is that we have a workshop that we would be able to sit down and come up with items that need to be, that we would like Tracy to have on her report. Maybe I happen to have copies of financial reports that are presented to 3 different entities. The county is one. I have Norley Hospitals, and the things, everybody pretty much says the same thing in different ways. And so I'd like, I'm just going to give you these copies after a meeting, and the guidelines. And also it would then, when we have a workshop, then we can add, we can, sorry, again, I told you I'm having trouble putting words together today. But we can figure out the best way to present it so that we can look at it in a dashboard type format and see where we stand as far as the city's position. We need monthly, like you presented here. Maybe also have year-to-date financials, possibly even prior years, to kind of see how we're comparing. There's a whole lot of things that for us to be able to evaluate how we're doing. Yes, like in this particular instance, it appears we had a really good month. But when I know for a fact if you take out 1.4 out of 1.8, then at most we were 400,000 in the black. And if there were other single disbursement type funds received that month, then it really doesn't reflect our ongoing. And of course, in our discussion, and I'm able to share this afternoon, we do allocate for our debt, but we also would like to be able to see cash on hand versus, and I say cash on hand, that is we have days in cash on hand. In other words, if we don't get any more revenue, how much reserve, how long could we operate? Now, that's a far-fetched situation, but at least gives us an idea of where we stand in case of an emergency situation. There's several items that I think that this workshop would be able to help us have a better understanding and help give you more direction. This is a snapshot, and we appreciate that we are at least to this point, but also an evaluation for in trying to help the fire department and all of our departments retain staff, increase at least to the level of the budgetary level. Anyway, we've got to know where we stand. Also, we're going to have budgetary numbers that are monthly and year to date, so that
whenever we have disbursements out of those different departments, we need to know where they came from. Are they coming out, like, I'm just gonna use the wastewater because I tend to work with them quite a bit, or a lot more. I know the wastewater is currently using a lot of COVID funds, so it wouldn't come out of their budgetary amount, but we would see their expenses and we would know which part of it comes out of their budgetary amount, which is pretty much general fund. And then for these large expenditures, those come out of the COVID fund, which then we would also carry so that we know, okay, this is where we're at with that. We've got a lot to do. So the question to the commissioners is, can we set aside a day in the near future to work on the presentation of the financial report? And when would that day be?
Me, as soon as possible.
Okay, well, I like that answer to start out with, Commissioner Bolt. I'm sorry. I realize that. Okay, well, I didn't know that, but yes. So, I'm sorry, Dr. Martinez, let's start you and your staff. Maybe some options on dates.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my recommendation is that the finance director, myself, and the commission, we sit down and we have an all-day session on the budget. I did meet with Mr. Ed Fierro, and he strongly recommends that we sit down and go through the budget. He wants to focus on specifics on our revenues, liabilities, per department budgets, and so forth. And I know Tracy is going to give you additional financial information to review, but my recommendation is that we have it somewhere outside the city hall, and we meet all day, if that's possible. I'm thinking from 9 in the morning till probably about 3 o'clock. And Ed Fierro will be there, and we will we'll break down the budget and go from there. I know I spoke to Tracy about this earlier today, and she's going to reach out to Ed to see when he is available, but the sooner the better.
Okay. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, what are we thinking? 2 days.
I would like to have it November, December.
December works better for me because I'm slammed from here till the first week of December, maybe a little fast.
Okay.
December.
The Thursday is always good. The Thursday can make it possibly closing out the week. Thursday or Friday. Well, Friday's everybody's in town, so.
I have 2 Thursday nights that I am obligated at least through the rest of this year. 2 Thursday nights out of each month.
What about during the day? Would that work for everyone if that's possible? I know
We'll make
Some of my days I rearrange stuff, but
Commissioner Bolt is. We can
All
look
day
at it.
is good for me, but
We'll look at it.
I'll make time.
Okay.
I think if you'll set a date, and that's what I'm hearing, set a date and maybe, we can then go back and see if it's just an absolute no, and not everyone has to be there, but I invite, all the commissioners to try to be there. Let's go, let's get it done because we're,
Just right around the corner.
yeah, in, yeah,
March we started.
second quarter is right around the corner, so yeah, the quicker the better.
Also, we did the GRT worksheet. So you guys can kind of have an idea what the GRT was for each month. We did the LEDA, kind of shows you what we allocate to LEDA each month. The lodger's tax is a revenue from the rooms, from the motels, and it's a 5% tax that's added to the rooms. And then we get a gas tax revenue also that's 17 cents per gallon, and the state imposes it. And we kind of put together so you can see how much we allocate there or get for there. And then I have the ambulance fund as well. treating people and transporting revenue from the ambulance, from the, how much they have in revenues. And then the solid waste is the revenues obtained from the resident and commercial trash pickup and other fees that they charge. We tried to give you some history on it, and then and then the utility fund is the last one. And it's revenues and fees charged to individual and companies that use the city water and sewer. Kind of gives you an idea of the revenues we collect for that. And then I have an income statement report. They're long, so I wanted to give them to you guys so you can go over them in your time, your spare time, and kind of see what's going on with everything. And so it kind of shows the budget and things like that. And then I have a balance sheet report for you guys. It's long as well. It's by fund. It shows you the assets, liabilities, and the equity per fund.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, yeah, we're not. That's the reason that.
I think one other thing I'd like to say is that I appreciate everything you've done for our and your staff. Just quickly, because like Commissioner said and the mayor said, I want to go elaborate more. We have to on this. It's just like quick reference on some items, just like the cost of waste, solid waste versus income, and what is our remaining balance. That way we can like know if we're charging the customer, we don't want to be in the negative.
Right.
So we want to make sure, I don't want to hear that, heard what I heard 2 years ago. Well, we've been in the red for 3 years. Well, ain't nobody told me nothing about that. So I definitely something that we got to make sure that at the end of the month, we are above and not below.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, Tracy, for our next meeting on the 28th, you plan to have Ed here, correct, to go over some information that you
Yes, I-
passed out?
Yes, I haven't gotten a hold of him. He's working on another audit. But as soon as he responds, so that's my goal, is to get him here.
But our plan for the next meeting is to discuss specific information that was just given to the commission, that's correct?
Yeah, and last thing, city manager, I just don't want, okay, what we have in front of us in our work session, I don't want it to affect our end result, but turn in our audit report. I want our audit to be on time this year. So if it's going to affect us in any way, then let's just push it off a little bit longer. I mean, I just want to make sure that our audit is on time this year.
It's on time. It's on good.
Okay, as long as it don't affect that, then
What is her expected completion?
I know that they're having everything turned in on December the 15th, I believe, and then.
Right, that's mandatory. But, I mean, is she trying to get done by the end of November, or have you had a lot of discussion?
I haven't had a discussion with her on that. I just know that they've been turning everything in and they're trying to get it all complete, and that it is going as scheduled.
Okay. Maybe by our next meeting also, if you'll just kind of get with her and see what her timeline looks like.
Sure.
Anything further? All right, I know it's a lot of information to look over, but it's just been some time between now and especially the next meeting and our possibly during the workshop, depending on the update. All right. Anything further, Tracy, before we move on?
That's it.
All right.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-118, approval to award RFP for historical Elite Theater marquee restoration.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second on this resolution.
Yes, ma'am. We did the procurement for the theater marquee, and we only got one bid in from Xeon Science. So we would just like to get it approved to give to them.
What was the name of it again? Because I'd have to.
Xeon Science.
Xeon.
That's out.
Yes, I know.
Oh, see.
That was the only one we got in. How did somebody else message me, but she didn't send anything in?
Board of Commissions, I'd like to amend my motion to, for resolution 2022-118, to approve and award Xeon Science for the historical Elite Theater marquee restoration.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second discussion. Do we have a completion? I know we've had some internal discussions, but is there a timeline? When they expect it?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, our next move or our next step would be to meet with Dora with the call.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there and meet with Neon Science. The next step will be myself and Ms. Crystal Ball will contact Dora from the call and go from there.
6 months?
Well,
Year?
we need to have those meetings first with them and then.
Well, I'm sure in
Contact you guys.
their proposal, it was, completion so much after approval.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, hopefully 6 months.
It's not 2 years.
Not 2 years.
Not 2 years.
All right. Okay, thank you. No further discussion. Shannon?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Mr. Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-19, approval of the approval to award the RFP for broadband infrastructure in central Lovington to Luco.
Okay, motion second. Still you?
Yeah. so-
Awesome.
This one we had two. We got a committee and they scored it. LeCo got 700 points and the other was the engineering. They got 554. So LeCo beat them out.
Okay, Dr. Martinez,
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor, recommendation on this?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my recommendation is to approve the RFP to LECO.
Any further discussion? Being none, Shannon?
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Mr. Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-120, authorization approval submission of completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority for wastewater treatment plant, PER, for $50,000.
We have a motion and a second. Hey, that's the hard one for you. Okay, discussion. All right.
We have been working with Russell Doss to submit documents with him application for the wastewater. We just need to get it.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, Shannon?
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy.
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to make the motion for resolution 2022-121, authorization and approval of submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority for assistance asset management plan phases 1 and 2 for $50,000.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. It's Matt.
Same thing, same person. We've been working with Russell Dodd with this one as well. And he's gonna help us get both of those submitted and sent in. So that's the last one.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, Shannon?
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-122, approval of Laddo Elementary parking lot lease agreement with the Lovington Schools.
Second.
Okay, motion and second on this resolution. I believe in your packet there is a completed or a signed lease agreement. Any discussion?
I thought we were going to try to convince these guys to do a land swap.
Do it like.
So they'd be in.
They're
One's a school from long speech.
Well, the thing is, if something happens on that property, you're liable, so you know, it's our
No, because
We can be.
You know, it'd be like any other lawsuit, since you're tied into it, but it's a softball property, they'll be drug into it. Whether it's a parking lot, we'd be drug into it. So to eliminate liabilities, we should do a land swap. It would make common sense, but apparently.
And they won't give us the softball until we complete.
They approved it. Did they withhold it? Oh, well, you know, we could leave this one on the table and then come back to softball. But I was gonna say, then we're gonna have another discussion on why we should keep. Which is for continuing. Okay, any further discussion? Shannon?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Grain of salt, yes.
Commissioner White,
People do have to, yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes. All right. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-123, approval of recommendation for a CES contractor for roof repair.
I have a motion and a second. Shannon, are you gonna?
Yes, Mayor Commissioners. I looked over the CES contractors that were available, and I did get a quote from Lead Care. I got their name from the county. The county needs them on some projects, and they're on this. This is for the senior center, and you've got two different types of roofing on the senior center. So that's why you've got two different proposals here. It's the over the gym area. Is gravel. I don't know if they're using, but, and then the office area has the TPO roof. So we have the two separate proposals. And for section A, which is the gym area, came to 140. $5,000. This is for renovation of that roof. It's a 2-year warranty. And then on the section B, which is the office area, this is repairs of $28,000. The one on the gym area, it's called, it's a renovation. That's where they actually go in there and they can do, they do kind of a scan, some kind of computerized scan where they can see where the leaks are. And they can repair those and do a renovation of this. It's actually on material for that, it's a 15-year manufactured warranty on that.
Do you remember what the depreciation back would be when that's complete? That we get back from the insurance company?
Well, I know that we got the 191,000.
Right. But then when it's
So-
fixed, we get the depreciation back.
Yeah.
So I don't remember.
I don't either, but I know this, it will be submitted to travelers for reimbursement. In fact, any repairs that are being done on roofing now, we are submitting the invoices to travelers for reimbursement. But this is just for senior center, and they're ready to move on it. I told them we were gonna talk about it in the commission meeting. Nice.
Is this the only contractor that you've been able to,
Yes.
the only one you've invited, or just?
No, I did talk to a couple, but they were the ones that came forward and came and gave us this quote. I liked it because it was within the $190,000 that we received. And I know that the county did use them on some projects. And they don't recommend, he did not recommend a re-roof. He said that he felt like that.
Was the county pleased with the work? Was the county pleased with the work they did?
I think
What?
so. I think he just said it
Oh, I
was a
know.
waste of money to do a re-roof.
Oh, that's okay.
He felt like the renovation would take care of most of these roofs, so.
And I think we have to take care of our seniors. It's my feeling 100%, and whatever we gotta do to make sure they got a place that they can go to, that they can get meals, that they can have a place to attend, we gotta take care of them. So that's my feeling.
They had to start charging them $1 at the door.
That was something there.
Tracy, I realize they're a CES approved, or they're on the list. Does this still fall under procurement? I don't know the upper level that you would have to look at it further.
I think as long as they're on that list, we're good to go.
Yeah, there's a level, I just don't know where it, oh, thank you. I didn't realize it was up.
Yeah, the list, they're good.
Right, but I mean, this proposal is under any limit that it would be required to further this.
There's no limit if they're on the list.
No, so CES contractors have been through the RFP process
Right, I
already.
understand that.
So they're vetted, and so you don't have that cap limit, and you don't have to go through the RFP process.
Correct.
If they're not.
Yeah, as long as it's legit. And we can do it. All right, any further discussion? And so we didn't state it in the motion. So it would be to a recommendation,
What is their name?
yeah,
It's right.
I've got it right here, repair. Who made I'm so sorry.
I did. Resolution 2022-123, a recommendation for CES contractor for roof repairs to roof care.
All right, we have a motion second for this amendment. There's no further discussion.
Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Gagie?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-124, approval to accept multiple appropriations from Lee County Board of County Commission, District 1 and 2 discretionary funds to the city of Lovington for multiple services.
Okay. We have a motion second on this resolution. Commissioner Long and Commissioner Jackson. We'll try to make this quick, but if y'all will come up, if you don't mind. I'll try to do this one time, and so that way we can move through, I think there's three different resolutions here. But anyway, the city would like to thank you for, you and the county, for using your discretionary funding to help us in a lot of these items. There were the list, and I know we've talked about it so far, but I can't think of the total dollar amount, but we just want to recognize you for your commitment to Lovington. I know we're in your districts, but you've been able to step forward in several different areas this past year, at least during my tenure. And I appreciate the level at which you've contributed to our situation. We hopefully see that we're getting our feedback under us a little bit better, but this helps us move forward in some areas that we just didn't have at the time, didn't have the knowledge of how we were going to be able to complete these. So we just want to say thank you. I do especially, and y'all been there every time that I've pretty much reached out, and it means a lot to have you as a backup for us. So anyway, I want to recognize both of you.
This is the great thing about having discretionary funds. We can help, the entities in our districts. Like I said, you reached out to us, the chief has. That's what it's there for, and we're happy to give.
Yeah, we appreciate it so much. And, the firemen, they're ready for their new pumper truck. And I know the chief is, he will use his funds well to help continue to clean up Lovington. Softball fields will get some improvements. Yeah. And hopefully now we'll be able to move on in that area. But anyway, I do have a request of, we'll have a calendar. When is the only meeting in, well, would you two be able to be here December the 12th? Anyway, I would like to attend the meeting. Anyway, other than that, any commissioners, anybody? All right, well, again, thank you. We'll get through this, and that way we won't have to do it for one time. So, anyway, thanks again. Well, it's all in there, yeah. Oh, and the animal program, yes, okay. Sorry, I told you, I'm not running from all the cylinders today. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we have motion and second. Any further on resolution 124? Okay, Shannon.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaines?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yeah.
motion for resolution 2022-1. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion 25 approval to accept a $250,000 appropriation from Lee County to the city of operational and capital expenditures to expand spray and noodle programs and services.
Noodle break.
Second.
So thrilled that we're working together on this. You know, we're so overrun with unwanted pets, and to me, this is one of the best ways. You know, Dean and I worked on this with Robbie and with Laura for a few months to get this to come together, and I'm so happy to be standing here today. So after this, we can move on to get this program started here in Lovington. I think it's the right way with spay and noodle to get people.
Thank you for being on.
I'd like to ask-
Laura, I was gonna bring you up. Just come on, because I want you to explain a little bit. It's spray and noodle from now on.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd just like to add today was day one of the low-cost spay neuter program. It was a huge success. We had a lot of volunteers that came out and helped us out. It was absolutely wonderful, very successful. Looking forward, we're already booked up for the next 2 Mondays on surgeries. So I'm fixing to put out the December dates for surgeries for everybody to call in and look it up. Super excited, very thankful.
Word vet.
Dr. Burnett is doing.
Word vet is-
Yes.
And I know in the beginning, we're going to do on Mondays.
Correct.
But we are also, go ahead.
Wednesday.
Give a little bit more of the whole
Sure.
presentation.
So Monday is the low cost and low income, and we're geared on Mondays to do that. And then we're also going to work on Wednesdays. Wednesdays we'd like to gear, because we're going to be doing it in the afternoon. So we're trying to gear towards the trap, neuter, and release program with the feral cats and get a hold of that population within the city, the county, anybody actually who wants to get those animals fixed. We're going to gear Wednesday towards that, because we want to keep those animals overnight before they're released back out, make sure that they're okay.
Discuss.
And the shelter animals, sorry, we are fixing the shelter animals. So today we were able to get a few of those in on top of the ones that were already scheduled for surgery. And Wednesday we'll also use that as the primary focus for shelter animals too, that we will be able to get to on Mondays for filling up with the publics.
Okay. In addition, on your low cost and or, what else did you call
Low
it?
income?
Low income, kind of describe what we're also doing there as far as how you qualify and what that, how that benefits you, not you, the person that is bringing an animal in.
Sure. So on the low cost program, that's open to anybody. Any citizen anywhere can take advantage of that program. For a female dog, you're looking at $100 to get her spayed. On a male dog, we're going to get his doodles taken care of. $75. It's going to be a $50 non-refundable deposit. That also comes with a rabies vaccine. So if you're not current on your rabies vaccine, you will receive rabies vaccine. In order to participate in the program, it is mandatory microchip. So if your animal is not microchipped, it will be microchipped, all for that cost. Now on low income, you can qualify if you get Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, TANF, I don't quite know all the name of those programs. WIC. If you qualify for that, then you just show us proof, and then it only costs you $25. We have funding that is from the Maddox Foundation and Carol Petrie Foundation that is actually covering the cost for the low income, so we won't be able to offer that forever, but while the funds last, we will be offering that. You can also qualify, say that you're the type of person that you don't want to go out and apply for those programs, but you could qualify due to your income. Say if you got a bad year, you can bring us your tax return, and if you're at that 200% poverty level, which we have a chart that's from the state that shows that, then you will qualify that way. There is that opportunity. And that's $25 is what you're paying out of pocket on the low income.
Thank you.
So how are we putting this out there? How are we advertising? We have $250,000 to work for the next 18 months. How are we getting it out there so people will know?
Right now, we are putting it out on the internet, the Facebook. That is how we've been getting it out right now to get it. We've actually had a lot of phone calls, a lot of response within just
Need to,
Sure, no, we definitely need the first few days.
so we think that's sufficient, that we don't,
Need to put it out there. I'd like to put it on the radio. Another way, the newspaper, we plan on have a meeting with the newspaper. Anyway, I'm gonna put flyers on it like Bob's. I mean, anywhere and everywhere we can advertise it. No, we need to put it out there so that way we continue to fill up and book up. Of course, I want to be booked up for 6 months in advance. I mean, that's ideal.
I understand, that's why I was asking about advertisement, because I think that's
If you have
really
any
important.
suggestions, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I'm just wanting to find out what's going on.
Sure.
Is this just for Lee County
No.
residents?
No, now on the low income, you have to be a New Mexico resident. That is part of the stipulations on the low income. But no, on the low cost, no, you can live in Texas, or you have somebody in Texas who's called and make to, to get on the schedule too. So any surrounding area, it's not limited.
And the reason I'm asking these questions is so other people can hear it, so they know. So,
Yes, sir. Definitely. We want anybody and everybody to come over, visit. We're gonna give you, Laura gave me a list of the bites and stuff, so that way we can have people come out, eat, enjoy our small town. That's it.
In the feral catch and release, that's still in the works
Yes,
on the Wednesdays?
yes, that's where we're gearing it. We will schedule it during a Monday if we have opening or whatever works, but it's kind of hard when you're tracking them on a Sunday to get them there by 7 a.m. So right now, and Wednesday, we want the animals to stay overnight, so we just kind of feel it's best right now to do it Wednesdays. But I mean, we'll work with
But it's
people.
already in place.
Oh, yes, we already have people who are wanting to trap. If you have an area, know people, call us. That way we can, with part of that county funding, we're gonna order traps. We already have some traps, but I'll order some traps hopefully in the next 2 weeks. And we'll be able to get some more traps and kind of focus an area and work with citizens, whoever want to participate in this. And then we'll have volunteers, Actions for Animals have volunteers that are willing to kind of help too when it comes to that. You're a county resident, you can't get to us, maybe we can find somebody who can kind of pick up those traps and bring them in. Maybe even the county employees may be able to do that. I don't know. We can ask. I'm sure we can partner with them. They want to get rid of the problem just as much as we do. So I'm sure that won't be a problem.
Anyone else? I would like to, absolutely, go ahead, Ms. Lynn. I would be happy to.
Well, I just want to let you know today, I spent the entire day from 7 until 5:30 we got here at the shelter. And I have to tell you, it was really, we had people come in with their dogs, then we had the shelter dogs. And I got to tell you, with the volunteers that we had, those were the best loved dogs you've ever seen. We were there with blankets and got on the floor with them, and it felt good to be able to help people out at a much lower cost. And that was just a great feeling. And we do need more volunteers, anybody that wants to come out and help, because our shelter definitely needs some help. You wouldn't believe how many dogs are out there, about 35 dogs on a daily basis at our shelter, maybe more. And then cats, kittens, you've never seen so many kittens. So if anybody wants a kitten to adopt, there's some precious ones out there. Just want to tell you that I really enjoyed it and I'm glad I'm doing this.
Well, I want to commend Laura on this because when Commissioner Long brought this to my attention a few months ago, I basically turned it over to Laura. She developed the plan and then met with us, presented the plan, and what the county was able to do was provide the startup equipment that we needed, plus supplies. So they were able to get us off the ground with no encumbrance to the city. At that point, then through Elaine, I've gotten a lot of input on this and so it's been kind of one of my I love it, pet projects over this. And so we really kicked this into gear very quickly. And obviously for being day one, then it was successful starting off and it'll just get more. So our goal is over the next couple or so years to have this program literally dwindling a little bit as far as this, just because we're doing such a good job. And that's the whole goal is, and I say dwindling only in that need. Hopefully will go down a little bit while we continue to add other services to our shelter. And this is another partnership with the county, and we appreciate Commissioner Long, and of course, Dean was involved also in the negotiations and the talks and coming up with it. But Laura really put this program together for the city of Love's. And I appreciate it. And she's going, her group, there's another, what's the name of your?
The Action for Animals.
Action for Animals, yes. Sorry, I knew that, but didn't think of it. Anyway, they're heavily involved in this, and they are leading this effort also. So, and obviously, Elaine's an integral part of that. So, anyway, Commissioner, I just want you to know that that's what's happening kind of behind the scenes and what they're doing for you out there. All right, thanks a lot.
We're excited. Thank you very much.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the acceptance of this reward from the county. Jenna?
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to make the resolution for 2022-126 approval for memorandum of agreement, MOA, between the city of Lovington and Lee County for spray and neuter service grant. I cannot.
I was the one that couldn't read.
Was that better than the last one? I cannot roll my tongue like that. That must be something.
Second.
That must have come from the south.
We have a motion and second on this resolution. Any discussion? All right, Shannon?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2022-127, approval of appointment to the Lodgers Tax Board, Andrea Gonzalez and Timothy.
Doran? No. I'm not looking at.
DOHRER, whatever that is.
Okay, motion. We have a motion and second for the appointment of these two individuals to the. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Roll.
How are they
RV parks.
representing the RV parks?
Both of them are RV parks, yes. Because, well, we really don't, at this point, don't have a representative from either hotel on the list, but since Lodgers Tax, since RV parks fall under the Lodgers Tax now, then at least they're in that industry. Yes, yeah. And that's how they, both of them own it.
I didn't know.
Any further discussion? Jen?
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for 2022-128, approval of advertised ordinance 594, an ordinance granting a modification of franchise, yeah. Yeah. It's all Dave's fault.
It's in the number of men, 2, 3.
312 to the Lee County Electric Cooperative Corporation.
Second, yeah, okay, now we have a motion, second on this ordinance. Do we have? Who's going to discuss it? I'm sorry. Shannon, okay, sorry. I didn't know, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I did speak to Patrick earlier today, and he did review it, and his recommendation is to move forward.
All right, and yours as well.
That is correct.
All right. Any further discussion? Shannon?
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to make most for resolution 2022-1 on North Main.
There's motion second.
Mayor Commissioners. So the little drawings I gave you, there you go. You can look at those. This is the free right that we are talking about, wanting to get rid of. So what has happened is this right for any development to come in that area. In MDOT is like, well, with that free right, you can't have another entrance anywhere till past the Family Dollar. So that kind of limits who would go in there. So we really need to get rid of this free right, so that we can help get somebody interested in that property. Now, the thing is the free right, we wouldn't actually remove it till construction begins. But this would give me the authority to go ahead and work with the developers to do that once start construction.
This also is in conjunction, I know that Norley has requested DOT to look at this and just northeast of there, for, there's going to be a crosswalk across there, so this is just information. And in addition to this being removed, the speed limit in that area, it will be reduced to 35?
30.
30, okay.
Yeah.
And that will, and I know it is on, sorry, I'm not speaking for you, David, but just in conversation, the hospital will be installing flashing signs, which would let traffic coming in know that there are people in that crosswalk, so that they, and to observe the 30-mile-an-hour zone. So it's going to be helpful to that whole stretch of road, except probably to Commissioner Henry.
Yeah, you make the real.
Okay, so now Deer Drive is still, we are still in the works of restriping that and moving that center lane so the trucks can make that turn in
I
there.
was thinking if they put a walkover like they have in Lubbock, then it eliminates the trucks.
Tramway.
You put a 12-foot height.
I asked that too.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't get it.
you know, and then we don't have to say you just can't get a truck down there, you know?
Crystal, on New Mexico DOT, is that part of phase 2? Are we gonna implement that in phase 2 with, because they're gonna redo it all the way to the
No,
track?
so in MDOT, when they started the project beginning designs 3 years ago, it was all the way from the south end of town clear out to commercial. But with the budget restraints that they had to diminish, that's why they did the overlays on the north and south ends, because the only part of the project they're doing right now or anytime in the near future is from the drainage clear up from D all the way to Jackson. So there will be no reconstruction of the medians or anything in that area.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? If not, Shannon.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner White, and Mayor Roberts.
Yeah.
Here, I'd like to make a motion for 2022-130, approval to advertise ordinance 595, authorizing a project participation agreement providing funding for LEDA funds to the Lovington Economic Development Department, $30,000 for a traffic impact analysis and a restriping of US Highway 82.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for this resolution. Discussion. I gotta know who's gonna take it.
Mayor, Commissioners, the Lovington EDC is requesting to use $30,000 from the LEDA fund to get a traffic study done in order for the hospital to get the crosswalks and the traffic study has to be performed. As well as the apartment complex, the Lovington Trails Apartments is going to be at the beginning of 2023, we're going to begin the construction of the 64 additional apartments. And we want to know, I mean, if it's going to be a congestion there. So that's the reason that traffic study has to be performed, as well as the 10-acre site that's property is obsolete. If we don't lower the speed limit, there is no way to get any access in from Highway 82. And in order for us to be able to look at future development, we have to drop down the speed limit as well as restriping, potentially widening the road to be able to get a left-hand turn into this property. But we are asking for $30,000 to be used from the funds to be able to help more than one person in that area.
This particular impact study will be helpful to all of the projects that are currently in this area. So it'll be encompassing and be applicable to all of those.
Absolutely. So the Norley Hospital, most of you are aware, they are building a 25,000 square foot facility that's going to be located across from Norley. And they are needing to access their patients or even their employees to cross the street. Well, if you pass by there now, it's 55 miles an hour. And it's for safety reasons, a crosswalk is necessary. And then the apartment complex will be adding 64 additional units that will begin at the beginning of the year, but they are also going to have access coming in from Second Street. So not all the traffic is going to come from Love Street. And then the future development on the 10 acres, we are not aware of what's going on there, but we do know that in order for him to be able to even recruit anyone, they do have to have access in coming into that property as well. And we are asking for 30,000. Half of it will be used for the traffic study, and the other half will be used for engineering for restriping on US Highway. Any questions?
Commission.
I don't have a question pertaining to that. That's a great idea. Speed is a great idea. I was just reflecting on where we're looking at the picture. When I come off Love Street, crossing over to go to the gym, and I see Dave over there going to the gym too. So, but I almost get hit every time because I'll look to my left, and then by the time I look to my right and back to my left, cars are already coming. And the thing about the trees that they planted in the middle medium are obstructing my view, because if a car's coming, it creates a blind spot. And then if I look right and I look left and I look back right, it could be right at that tree, because it's happened to me twice already where they slammed on the brakes. And I'm like, man, and now I'm kind of hesitant to go down Love and cross over to the Lotus.
And just so you know, we did meet with DOT today. Several hours, we did visit the site just to double check. Norley Hospital was there, as well as the apartment complex and also the engineers for the 10 acre site. And everyone is in agreement and everyone feels that it's necessary in order for us to have any type of progress on those sides. Any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? If not, then?
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
White? Yes. Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. All right. Very good. I need to.
Make a motion to pay bills.
Okay, we'll take
All right. We have a motion.
Is that going you, Mayor? I wasn't right here.
I'll be presenting those.
All right. We let,
So they're having that on.
yeah, that's pretty. Sorry. I tell you, I got something. Anything specifically you want to talk about?
No, do you guys have any questions?
How much longer are we going to be meeting then?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I had that conversation with him. My estimation is a couple more months, and that's it.
I don't see the extension process. vendor 1455 on, for Jake's Electric Irrigation Service. What was that for? It's WW Farm System.
It's wastewater. I believe they have a well out there with it. So it's repairs on that.
There was, I got a call from the, one of the wastewater gentlemen, and I guess there is also a, I'm sorry, guys. A pivot out there that is down, and it was discussed whether Mr. Field is responsible for those repairs. I don't know, and I don't know that we've had anything along that line come up over the past few months, but we need to evaluate that. That's what I understand, and I don't know what the current, this was like a week or so ago. I don't know. If it's all in his. No. I think it's what. All right. Any further discussion on the accounts payable? All right. Janet?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 10-15-1 NMSA. or, 1978 subsection H8 regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposition of real property, the water right, potential purchase of Troy Harrison.
Janet?
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner White? Yes. Mayor Roberts?
Yes.
I'm back in a second.
Nice.
Right in there.
Gonna be new.
On Friday, let's look at dinner. Lunch with turkey dinner.